A preeminent academic, Dr. Moulakis is provost and also served as president of the American University of Afghanistan. Today we'll present a comprehensive review of the facts on the ground in Afghanistan, as well as the U.S.'s formidable task ahead. Dr. Moulakis, welcome to Give and Take.
Thank you very much.
You've said about Afghanistan before that there is hope, but not much. Can you elaborate on that?
Yes. There is hope in the sense that we're talking about human beings with great resources of courage and resilience. I said no, not much, because the conditions are extremely difficult. The conditions of pacification are difficult, the conditions of development are difficult, the condition of governance are difficult, so that a lot of things have to come together. It'll take a great deal of ability and a great deal of luck to be able to make things come out right.
What do you mean by luck?
By luck, I mean that things have to come out right somehow. It's not easy to guess what the direct effects of any action are going to be. There's always unexpected consequences. There's always consequences that can come and defeat the purpose that you were trying to serve. So that, for instance, you get perverse effects. You get perverse effects. A great deal of the aid effort that has gone into the reconstruction of Afghanistan, for example, has, I think, had the opposite effect of what it intended, despite excellent intentions.
And why is that? Why the opposite effect?
Well, because I think one should distinguish between humanitarian help and development help. In humanitarian help, you almost cannot go wrong. You send in the blankets, you send in the aspirin, you send in the tents, and you take people who are suffering, and you save them from the cold, and you save them from a runny nose. That is easy to do, and you can't go wrong. But when you're building a country, when you're building a nation, then you want to create abilities, skills, rather than just deliver the goods. Now, a lot of the aid effort has been what I would call supply-driven. You have associations which, with excellent intentions, are capable of providing certain things. I don't know, shots against illness, or teaching services, or whatever. But in so doing, they undermine the country's own capacity to show that it can do it. When instead of the Ministry of Health, it is some NGO that delivers health services, then the Ministry of Health is demoted in a way in the eyes of the people.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about that. So do you feel, in terms of the U.S. strategy in Afghanistan, that the United States is intervening too much and not letting the Afghan people really rise up on their own?
I don't think it is doing too much, although it is doing a great deal more than most people imagine. It is huge amounts of money and enormous amounts of effort that have gone into it. We're not necessarily doing the right thing. I think we have moved more towards that. I think it's not a matter of more or less, but of how you do things. It's really a matter of having forms of help that are empowering rather than forms of help that take away from the capacity of people to act. It is really doing more of giving people a fishing rod and showing them how to fish than to give them ready-made fish out of the box. That is the crux.
So President Obama's new strategy of sending in 30,000 additional American troops, do you agree with that strategy?
I'm not a military man and cannot quite guess exactly. I mean, he knows things that I don't know. But I think that it gives a certain opportunity. I certainly think that there is a momentum to be reversed. I think this is a big admission that has been made by the administration, that in fact things have not been going well. The very wording that we have to reverse a momentum suggests that the momentum was going the wrong way. I think it's important to set a signal. Now, it's important to create a space of time and a space on the ground in which other efforts, peace-building efforts and nation-building efforts can in fact take root. But what these are going to be, that was, I think, is going to be decisive. I don't think that you can win these things with bullets alone. I mean, you can not do it without bullets, but you cannot do it with bullets alone. But the other things you do have to be very carefully calibrated, and they have to be intelligent, and they have to be suitable to the nature of the country.
This whole idea of nation-building, which you referred to earlier, do you think that it is the role of the United States or of any country to come into Afghanistan and nation-build, if you will?
No, I do not. I do not think that other nations can build other nations for them. And the two examples that we keep using are out of place. You know, the post-war Japan and post-war Germany. Those were countries with their institutions. Those are countries with high educational levels. And the Marshall Plan could work because the conditions on the ground were such that the countries themselves could take off. I think that we can have a very sorry record otherwise of trying to nation build, whether it's Cuba or the Philippines or you can go on and on, or Somalia or whatever it is. I do think that it's possible to assist a nation in its reconstruction, but the brunt of it has to be carried by the country itself, and whatever one does has to be in accordance with its traditions, in accordance with what will actually take root in the place. You can't just send a couple of well-meaning young people from, who have just graduated from a School of Foreign Service and tell them, and this is the way you do it, and that tomorrow Kandahar is going to be like Akron, Ohio. This will not happen. You have to work with the structures that you find. You have to work with the positive elements of conflict resolution or opinion building that exist in Afghan traditions, built from the bottom up in that regard, in order to lead to a sort of country that is compatible with the modern world.
So this idea of the new strategy, the new U.S. strategy of trying to train the Afghan forces to be able to maintain their own security, is that what you call making Afghanistan independent, or does that fall more into a dependency category if you were to characterize it?
I think that particular aspect is an illusion. I think
which aspect is it?
The aspect that the Afghan military as such will be able to take over the task is, I think, an illusion. It is a weak force. If we take the army, which is perhaps the most respected and the most successful of the bodies that have been helped to grow, as opposed to the police, which is in a much worse state, it is weak. It is full of people who run away. It is very poorly paid. It is poorly trained, although increasingly well trained. And let me put it in another way. If the Afghan state were capable of collecting all the taxes that are its due, which is a tall order and not given, it would barely be able to pay for its present army. Not having paid a single civil servant, not having built a single kilometer of road, not having built a single school. So that the Afghan army will continue to depend, the existence and efficacy of the Afghan army, even if it were completely organizationally, completely autonomous and well-trained, would continue to depend on extraordinary votes of the US Congress.